All right, no opener today. All right. So this is C2C. I'm lost out without the opener. Um, good evening, or good afternoon, morning, wherever you're at. This is Rankem on C2C Network. I'm the host, Big T, along with my fellow co-host, the Prime Moose, Tim Hendricks. How you doing, bud?
I'm good. It was weird because we were having a slight conversation, then you took off, and I'm like, okay, because that conversation's done, and then all of a sudden I look up and there's no opener. I'm going, oh, okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
gonna be that kind of day.
Yep, that's gonna be that one. But before we get into our final divisions for the NFL season that we're predicting, the records from PlayoffPredictor.com, the biggest losses and gains and biggest storylines. Tim, we didn't have a show last week, but the day after, we lost a great wrestling legend. I know you're a big wrestling fan, and so am I. And if you watched Between the Ropes that night, you saw that we did a special tribute to Hulk Hogan. Your thoughts on what he meant to the wrestling world?
I, I think it goes without saying. I think a lot of things that happen a lot of the wrestlers that we had in the Attitude Era pretty much point their flags towards Hogan is the reason why they got in, especially the whole golden era of WWF wrestling is the reason why a lot of guys got into the business. He was the first baby face I remember. The whole the rock and wrestling era. I wasn't the guy who said his prayers and ate his vitamins, but he's one of those guys that I watched a lot of growing up. Even though my dad thought it was my dad not being the world's not understanding that wrestling is we're going to say it's scripted. I understood that I wasn't, but that wasn't the reason. That was my dad thought we were going to take it as real, but he was one of the first wrestlers to cross over between wrestling and Hollywood. Um, I thought he was the great ambassador to the sport. It's still a sport because it's still they still keep score, they still keep records, so it's still a sport, even if it's predetermined. I I've seen a lot. You may not necessarily agree what he did later in life, but that's there's a lot of things that we've all done that a lot of people won't agree with. But I wouldn't have got into watching wrestling if it weren't for Hogan. I wouldn't have gotten any deeper. Wouldn't have gotten any deeper into wrestling if it wasn't for his heel turn in Bash at the Beach. It made me watch WCW more at that time because I wasn't watching WCW before. Well, nobody was watching Nitro at WCW before Nitro. Matter of fact, this is one of the things that you and I got into when we first started hanging out. Was we were watching WCW. I think the business lost one of the icons, one of the Mount Rushmore faces. It's definitely one of the Mount Rushmore on my list. It's gonna take a while. But that's life. We said the same thing about Ozzy. We said other things, and we're just gonna keep going on. So yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, no, and the thing is Vince Senior and Junior, I guess, to put all your eggs in one basket on Hogan, because I mean, if Hulkamania doesn't run wild and catch on, I mean, who knows what we're talking about wrestling as of today? So yeah, that's
right. And I saw on Facebook that there somebody had posted that Hogan's funeral is today in Clearwater.
Nah, they did a private service yesterday. I saw.
Yeah, I think it's a public service today.
Oh, okay. Yeah, hopefully hopefully it's streamed somewhere we could kind of watch it.
Right.
I know Ozzy's was. But speaking of that too, lost another legend in the acting world. Lana Anderson. I think I said her name right. Um, from WKRP in Cincinnati. Minnesota person. I did not know that until somebody told me that. And I was actually looking it up because I thought they said a different name and then found out who it was. And so, great actress. I only know her from, and I probably seen her in other stuff, but I know her from WKRP in Cincinnati. Great actress. Another one that, was a shocker. Tim, your thoughts? I know you said you saw her in a couple different things.
Yeah, when you said it kind of shocked me. I don't remember quite what I said to you in our private chat, but it wasn't expected. Married to Burt Reynolds. I saw her in Stroker Ace. Don't get me wrong, I saw WKRP. Love the show. It's one of my favorite shows of the late 70s, early 80s. But yeah, I can remember her starring opposite Burt Reynolds in Stroker Ace, who ended up becoming her husband right around the same time. I like you said backstage, an absolute smoke show.
Yeah.
She at that point she was up there. She was ranking up there with Carrie Fisher for me when I was younger. God, yeah, it was a kick in the face again. Another piece of our youth just going running right out the window at this point.
Yep, exactly. So hopefully next week when we do our show, we don't have this type of news. But it's good to share, and rest in peace to those, and prayers and thoughts go out to the families and fans of them. Even though I met Hogan, but it wasn't like, we sat down and talked. It was signing, but so if you get a chance to go meet those people, I say go do it. Some people say it's not good to meet your idols because they're not who you think they are. But
my suggestion is, if you meet your idols, don't have a heart-to-heart conversation with them. Just get it over with and walk away, because the more you allow them to talk, the more you're going to let them stick their foot in their mouth and decide to wreck your whole aerodrome for them. So it's better. Like I saw Hogan at a Tampa Bay Rays game. He threw out a first pitch at a Rays game. So I saw him. I never got a chance to talk to him, but I did see him live. I couldn't have been no more than 100 feet from him. I didn't get to talk to him, not like I did to John Cena, but Hogan. I wish I had talked to him, but I got smart and didn't want to. I wish I could have, but I realized, like you said, never meet your idols, because you're likely to be disappointed. So I never did.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into our topic today. We're going to do a little extended version, so we're not going to do a blind rank today, because we're going to do our last division, which is the North, and then we're going to do our playoff predictions too. So with that being said, the AFC North, Tim, who's your fourth team in the North?
Well, this should come to no surprise to anybody. It might shock. It might. If you watch our show Morning Tailgate, which we're talking about not being in the morning anymore, so that's going to be hilarious. This team can't even figure out a quarterback room, let alone their own schedule. They don't know who they're starting at quarterback. Well, they're starting Shedeur Sanders preseason week 1, but he's the number 4 quarterback on the depth chart. I don't know. I've got enough confidence of Shedeur, so I got him starting on my Mutt team on Madden 25. That's about as much as confidence I have in the guy. You thought that I was picking on the New Orleans Saints 2 weeks ago. Holy smokes, you're not going to believe who I'm picking on this week. I've got the Cleveland Browns at 2-15.
Well, I got it a little bit better, but I do have the Browns. I got them at 3-14, the 16th seed, so they're going to be fighting for one of the top couple spots. Yeah, I can't wait to see what our biggest story is coming out of that camp. Your number 3 team.
My number three teams. I don't care if you signed Aaron Rodgers. I really don't. I thought it was a huge mistake letting Justin Fields out of your locker room. I think you could have built. I think you could have built your team around Justin Fields. I think you made probably the biggest mistake right after the biggest mistake letting Fields go right after signing Aaron Rodgers 3 weeks later. Yeah, I've got the Pittsburgh Steelers. I've got them. I want to double check, but I've got them at 6-11.
Well, we're actually sniping here because I got the Steelers at number 3 at 6-11, the 12th seed. So yeah, I don't care if you sign Aaron Rodgers. I'm with you. Justin Fields, I think, could have been. I think the Bears and the Steelers. Hopefully, the Jets can prove them wrong and say, "Hey, this is the guy that you guys thought he was." You know,
And the thing is, he led the Steelers last year to a record of what 3-0
before
and then before he played for Pittsburgh, before he played Indy, but even then he looked like the quarterback that we thought was coming out when he was the number 1 pick coming out of Ohio State.
Yep.
And then you turn around and let him go to. I remember the talk with all the time was like, "Wait, do you bring in Russell Wilson to replace a quarterback who was the hot hand?" And well, usually you don't, and they did. And
yeah, you always go with the hot hand. So,
yep.
All right, number 2.
My number 2, I think last year you had Joe Burrow basically having an MVP like season. You've got the basically what was it, the number 1 quarterback in touchdowns, the interception ratio. You had the number 1 wide receiver. You've got probably one of the top 10 defenses in the league, and you had a team that was what 10-7.
Yeah.
And it was like a fluke, and they missed the playoffs. Was that that's how that doesn't usually work? And they were losing games close. I don't think it's going to be like that this year. I think I've got the Cincinnati Bengals at 13-4 as the 4 seed. I got them at the 4 seed.
All right. Well, I got the Bengals too at second. Again, like you said, I think Burrow's got to stay healthy. It's got to stay consistent. That team is built around Burrow and nothing else, it seems like. Yeah, I got them at second, 11-6, the 7th seed, just sneaking in there. So you're number 1 team.
My number 1 team, I've got. Well, at this point, it's pretty obvious. I've got the Baltimore Ravens at 14-3. As a 2 seed. But what do they've got to do to get past Kansas City, to get past Buffalo, to get past Cincinnati, even Cincinnati still in that conversation to hit Lamar in his first Super Bowl, just to have a shot. I think this is one of the better years for him to do it. You've got the pieces now. You've added DeAndre Hopkins, which we may or may not talk about later in this show. This is a good team. It's just they need to make that step, and you've got Derrick Henry, who's basically starting to run his window of being productive is starting to close. They got to start figuring it out now, because tomorrow it's maybe too late for this team.
Yeah. Yep, I'm with you on that. I got the Ravens. I got them at the 3rd seed at 11-6. I will look at it later. Yeah, I'm with you. The Ravens' window's closing now. It's now or never, I think. And like you said, what do they have to do to get over those humps, to beat those teams? So it'll be interesting. So, all right. So let's move to the NFC North. This is my division. We'll see. I tried to not let my homer card come out a little bit, but we'll see how it goes. My number 4 team is the Bears. They're kind of rebuilding. Caleb, the coach, has come out and said that he's pretty much trying to teach this kid how to play quarterback again. I don't know how you can do that, but I got him at 7-10, the 12th seed.
Well, it's a true snipe, because I've got the Chicago Bears at number 4 at 7-10. Like you said, it's Caleb Williams. It's still his 2nd year. You're bringing in the former offensive coordinator from the Detroit Lions. You see that he's making that offensive line into the thing that Detroit was was getting good at. Probably the line that Barry would have loved to have run behind when he was playing.
Uh-huh.
I know we've got a colleague in this group that would hope that the Bears gets their first 4,000-yard running back or for 4,000-yard quarterback. Anybody had a 4,000-yard running back, nobody have a problem. But yeah, I mess around. I'd love to see them better at 7-10, but I can't see it.
And honestly, you talk about mess around as our Bears fan. I think he would also agree that he wants to see them better at 7-10. So, at number 3, I'm gonna tick off my some of my family members and a couple people here. I got the Pack. Well, I shouldn't really tick them off too much because I got them sneaking into the playoffs as the 7th seed, 9-8. I got the Pack Attack.
Yes.
Oh, we know where that allegiance runs. We know where that allegiance runs. That's great.
So your number 3 team.
My number 3. Well, I'm going to take off two specific people. One in my household and one that I share camera with on 2 different episodes, 2 different shows. It's I've got them in the playoffs, so don't kill me yet. But I've got the Vikings as the 6th seed at 11-6. At 11-6 right now. We all know what the big question mark is in Minnesota.
Yep.
That'll come up I'll be honest. I'll tease myself right now. I will spoil myself right now. It's going to be my one big question. But yeah, if that question mark works out, and remember, I'm the guy. If you watched our draft show 2 years ago, I'm the guy that said Minnesota should be drafting J.J. McCarthy. So my money is where my mouth is too. So I'm hoping I'm right.
All right, my number 2 team at 13-4, the number 5 seed. I have the Lions. I think it's going to be a tough division. I think this is going to be a battle. I tried not to let my fandom come. I picked every game except for the Minnesota games, and it still came out the same way. But I got the Lions at number 2. Your number 2 team.
I'm not really taking off anybody in my family at this point because I've got them. I've got a team at the 5 seed. Let me double check. I do that. I just get done looking, and all of a sudden I got to. Yeah, I've got them at the 5 seed. You've got a piece of paper next to you. I've got them on a whole nother window. I've got the Green Bay Packers at 14-3. Yeah, 14-3 as the 5 seed. I've got a couple question marks, but that was the look from the peanut gallery going, are you crazy? I could be, believe me, don't get me wrong. But they lost a couple pieces, but I don't know if what they replaced them with is going to be big enough.
Yeah. Well, my number 1 team, I got them at 13-4. Like I said, I think it's going to be a tough division. As the number 1 C2, I got Minnesota. I mean, this is the first year that I think our defense is solid. I think our offensive weapons are solid. Our offensive line, they built up. A lot of experts are saying it's the best offensive line in the league. The only question I have is under center. Can he do it? And
yep.
And with the weapons you got, I mean, I don't know why not. But yeah, I got Vikings. You're number 1.
Yeah, well, I've got as the number 1 seed. I made one person in my family happy. Just one, and that one person could kill me. But I've got them at the number 1 seed. I've got the Detroit Lions at 16-1.
Yeah, what?
I got them at the 15-2. 15-2.
Oh, I thought you said 16-1.
I did, and I had to go back and look. Going, I'm going to get questioned for that one. I got them at 15-2.
They are good too. I mean, their defense is good. I mean, like I said, I think the North is going to be a tough one. So, and that's where I think the losses are going to cover. Some are going to be in that North battle. So,
Yeah.
All right, so let's go back to the AFC. The biggest losses, top 5 biggest losses we see. So you're number 5.
My number 5 biggest loss. I think the Cincinnati could pride itself on its defense for the longest time. This Trey Hendrickson thing is going to be, I think this Trey Hendrickson contract negotiation, whatever they're calling it, is going to drag out. But when you lose a guy to retirement and it's somebody of the caliber of the edge rusher like Sam Hubbard, I think that's a big loss, especially on that defense. But yeah, my number 5 is Sam Hubbard from the Bengals to retirement.
Okay. My number 5 is, you kind of control the kicking game. Not a punter, but I mean, you still need a good kickoff guy. You still need the guy that can boot those long field goals. I think the Ravens, as of right now, he's not signed, so he could come back. But Justin Tucker, not in Ravens camp.
Let me see. I thought I just saw something about Tucker signed somewhere. But I agree with you. I think you don't let Justin Tucker just go away. Justin Tucker. Yeah, he's still out there.
All right. You're number 4.
My number 4, we talk about the Cleveland Brown quarterback room. We've talked about it a lot, and I know right now they've got a five quarterback system right now after they signed Tyler Huntley. But the guy who is making big names in that really weird where we bring the first 30-30 guy up in quarterback history, 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. And he was putting up numbers in the Cleveland Browns system as a quarterback. I thought it was a mistake. You wouldn't have been drafting 2 quarterbacks if you kept this guy and not let him go to the Giants. I think Cleveland made a mistake in not signing Winston to keep Jameis Winston back in Cleveland. But yeah, my number 4 is Jameis Winston going to the Giants.
I thought about putting him on there, and I'm just like, nah. I mean, they're hurting their quarterback. Yeah, you don't let a Winston go, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think, I don't know about that one. I mean, it's not a bad pick, but my number 4 is your number 5, actually. You lose Hubbard, who's been there since day one, for 8 years, 7, 8 years, I think it was. Yeah. So, he got to know the offense, got to be that leadership. I think that was a big one for the Bengals to lose. So, you're number 3.
Number 3, you bring in a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. And one thing that we were always taught is the best thing to relieve pressure on a quarterback is a running back, because he'll take a lot of pressure off the quarterback, because you can always hand the ball off, and especially if you got a good running back like Pittsburgh had last year, and then you just kind of just let him go. This one blew my mind too. And when I heard he went to the Chargers, I was like, really? Pittsburgh let this guy go? My number 3 is Najee Harris going to the Chargers.
Yeah, that's a good one. My number 3, we're picking on the Browns, I think, this week. You got 5 new quarterbacks in the system. You got to have a solid offensive line, and you let 6 of those guys go in that group. So yeah, I got the Browns' biggest loss right now is going to be the 6th lineman that they let leave from last year.
Yeah, you don't let that. You just don't let linemen go.
Yeah.
That proves you're right there. That that offensive linemen are like underappreciated in the NFL zeitgeist, and it's kind of terrible.
All right, your number 2 loss.
My number 2, I kind of alluded to it before. You save money by keeping this guy and not letting him leave. So instead, you decide to spend more money on a guy, and then he turns around and he says it's his last year. We brought it up when we talked about Pittsburgh. My number 2 is letting Justin Fields go to the New York Jets.
That's my number 2. Is letting Fields walk. I mean, even you can put Russell Wilson in there too. I mean, one of those two you just let walk. I mean, I would have kept Fields over Wilson, but I would have kept Wilson over Rodgers. I mean,
yeah, so. You're basically at that point you're just keeping youth over age, and at this point you saw what Justin Fields. You compare last year to the four games that we got from Justin Fields to the season we got from Aaron Rodgers, and Justin Fields looked like head and shoulders and 10 yards ahead of Aaron Rodgers.
Yep. Nope. You're right. All right, number 1.
I'm gonna guess that I'm sniped you here because again I'm picking on the Cleveland Browns. How do you let this guy walk? This one blew my mind. And now I have to worry because I got to see him 2 times a year in Houston. Oh my Lord. This one's the biggest question mark in the entire, and we've done this now for 3 weeks. We've done this now. This is our 4th week. We've done this now for, at this point, only 7 divisions. And this is the one that blows my mind. I can understand Joey Bosa going to Buffalo to go get a ring. But Nick Chubb leaving the Cleveland Browns, again, I brought it up with Najee Harris, and especially such a back like who's probably in this league a top 10 running back, and you let him walk. You let him go to Houston. This is the big one. This one's the one. It floored me when I saw it. When I saw it go across the ticker, it still floors me today. Not the fact is there's two former AFC North running backs now in the Houston Texans locker room. I was happy I didn't see those guys. I was happy having my fantasy football team. Now I got to see them across the line every year. But yeah, my number 1 is from the Cleveland Browns, Nick Chubb.
Yep, Chubb, I'm with you. Number 1, just I'm stunned like you were that they let him walk. But outside of that, yeah, I mean, we probably could have had all 5 of these be Browns because
yeah.
So, but all right, so let's go to the North. On the AFC side, you talk about Chubb leaving. I got here a running back at number 5 that I believe signed last year because he didn't want to leave or something like that. But then the Packers let Jones come to Minnesota, and now you let A.J. Dillon walk. I mean, what are the Packers doing? You let 2 decent running backs go, and so that's my number 5.
And the funny thing is, I would love to hear this from a Packer fan's point of view. You let A.J. Dillon walk, and you bring in a running back of lesser caliber that with McCole Hardman from Kansas City. That's not even fair. That's not even a fair swap. You guys took a 3-tier step down when Hardman came compared to A.J. Dillon.
Yep. All right, you're
my number 5.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought the Detroit Lions had the perfect complement to Aiden Hutchinson on the other side. I was surprised that Cleveland traded this guy to the Lions. Was it midseason last season? And then he goes and has this one I can understand, but he hasn't even signed anywhere yet. So this may not even be a loss if he goes back to Detroit. But I've got Zadarius Smith from the Detroit Lions, the edge rusher for the Detroit Lions. I think if something happens, I think he may be back in Detroit, which makes this whole post pretty much unnecessary.
Yeah. All right, my number 4. We talked about the young quarterback and McCarthy coming back off an injury. To me, I know it was a money thing, but you need a veteran guy. Yeah, we got a couple of guys in there, veterans. But I think but I think Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold both.
Daniel Jones, you're gonna say it.
Yeah, I think
really
one of
think
those
you're gonna
guys
do
should have
it.
stuck around to help mentor, and be a reliable backup. So I think that's gonna hurt for the Vikes.
Yeah, that one's gonna hurt. I'm thinking Daniel Jones. Really, I don't know if that one hurt as much.
It probably doesn't hurt as much, but at least he knows what the NFL's like.
Right. So I'm going to my number 4. I'm going to use my I don't think I've ever used mess around as a trusted source on anything. I think this is going to be the first time. So if this gets back to mess around, I'm going to use you I'm using you as a trusted source of the Chicago Bears. And he announced it, and I think in one of our group chats, I think our morning tailgate group chats.
Yep.
You got a young quarterback in Caleb Williams in Chicago. Again, you need that. I understand you got DJ Moore and you've got Roma Dunze and this, that, and the other thing, but yet you still need a wide receiver of the caliber of Keenan Allen. I had to double check. I wanted to make sure my source was right. They always say if you're going to report something, get 2 sources. So I got my second source. But Keenan Allen leaving the Bears to go to the Los Angeles Chargers. I think that's going to be a big deal. It's not going to make them an 8-9 team, but it helps the wide receiver room. I think it helps everything that is necessary. I know why he went back to LA, because Mike Williams has just retired. Now you got Ladd McConkey. You got all the other receivers. I think he's going to do in Los Angeles what he could have done in Chicago. But again, you're going with a known name quarterback, not a no-name quarterback. And Justin Herbert, I think he's looking at playoffs now. I get the move, but you don't let the guy walk out the building, especially a talent like Keenan Allen. What he could do for the offense, I think it was a mistake.
Yeah, that was a big one. My number 3, we talk about groups of players, offensive line, defensive line, D-backs. I think the Lions losing 4 corners this offseason could be a big hit in that defense. Again, it's a group of people. You only have 6, 7 at most, and you're replacing half of them. To get them to buy into your system and stuff, I think that could be hurtful, especially in the North. When you got some big weapons on the offensive side of the ball. Your number 3.
Yeah, my number 3 is your number 5. I don't understand how you let AJ Dillon just walk out your door. Again, I think I've made my comparison to McCole Hardman pretty prevalent and pretty well known at this point. You don't let you brought him back. You signed him to a what? Was it a franchise tag or something?
Yeah, something like that.
And then you let him go anyway. At this point, just let him go and keep the other dude, the one that keep Aaron Jones at this point.
Yep. Number 3, go with the Bears, not Allen. That is a big loss. But defensive side, the Bears have been a defensive team. Their whole existence has been about defense, and you let 3 edge rushers walk. That's huge too. Because you need that pressure on the sides of the quarterback. Especially. I think outside of golf, the other 2 quarterbacks are going to be young still.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Law's been around, but so you're number 2.
My number 2, I originally had 1. Now I'm going to have 2 because it's both. I think it's huge. I think it's huge that you lose, that a team loses. Not how hard is it? Indy did it, and they lost. They both lost. They're both offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator in the same year when we lost. The guy who was just in Chicago, the quarterback Eberflus, and then you lose. And then the one that's in Philadelphia now, We had both those guys in the room. We let them walk the same year. Detroit's going to have the same problem. Yeah. I think you let the offensive coordinator and Ben Johnson go to Chicago. I think that's going to be huge upside for Chicago, but we're going to wonder if it's a huge downside. And then you lose Aaron Glenn. You're basically your defensive genius, offensive or defensive coordinator. Let him go to the Jets. Granted, he's already got ties to the Jets, being a former Jet corner as it is, but I think it's going to be huge watching those two coordinators leave.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I got you on that one. That's a good one too. Now my number one might sound a little funny since I have the team as a number one seed, but it also, it hurts when again you lose 6 offensive linemen and try to replace them. Minnesota did that, so hopefully they can gel together, get together. It sounds like the reports are good that it's not going to be a factor, but you just never know. But yeah, I think trying to build that offensive line is going to be hurtful. So you're number one.
Well, I'd like to stay in Minnesota.
All right.
Yeah, it's. I honestly think I think you give this quarterback the franchise tag. Let him sit a year. Let him play a year. See if it was a fluke. I wasn't a big fan of keeping Jones in Minnesota. I didn't really want him to go to Indy, but to let Sam Darnold go, the guy had a grip on that Minnesota Vikings on that playbook so well, and then he's got to go play over in Seattle. I think it was such a huge mistake. I hate, and this again, I'm the guy who said J.J. McCarthy was the quarterback of the future in Minnesota 2 years ago. Yeah. I'm the guy who's trying to play Mel Kiper on both sides of the football with this one, and it's like I think it was a mistake. I think J.J. would have learned another year under the system under Darnold for another year. Problem was last year Darnold was taking over for an injured McCarthy. McCarthy's not injured this year. I think that's what would help McCarthy as a veteran. Like you said, even though you had Daniel Jones, either one of those two guys, but you take that out. Heck, you could have picked up Flacco and put him in there and had him as a or Teddy Bridgewater at this point, because Bridgewater I think is in Tampa this weekend.
Yep, he signed with Tampa. Yep.
But I think Darnold going to Seattle I think it's going to hurt both, to be honest. I think it's going to hurt Darnold, and I think it's going to hurt the Vikings.
That's going to hurt Darnold because they have nobody. But yeah,
they got nothing. They buried.
It was a money thing. I mean, I get it. It was a money thing. You want to start a young quarterback. JJ probably would. If the season played out the way it was, we probably wouldn't have saw JJ till probably towards the end of the season. He was week 1 last year. I mean,
you would have gotten JJ in garbage time.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So let's go to the big gains for the AFC. So Tim, your number 5 biggest gain.
My biggest gain for the AFC, I think I might have brought him up in the NFC East. I think you take a cornerback off of the defending reigning, I'm not going to do the whole Paul Heyman shtick, but you take him off the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles and a cornerback, and you just basically are reloading the defensive backfield for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who's again going to be hell on defense. But I got Darius Slay coming from the Eagles to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That is a good one. I like that one. My number 5. This might help the Ravens. I mean, we talked about, what's it going to take for the Ravens to, beat the Chiefs, beat the Bills, beat the Bengals, beat those teams to keep them going. Hopkins, receiver going to the Ravens, I think is going to be another weapon that Lamar can use and not rely on himself to do things. He can throw the ball around. He can hand it off to Henry, so I think D-Hop going there is going to be a big one. You're number 4.
My number 4 is just on marquee by itself. Other than that, this guy isn't. This isn't. We're not getting. You're not getting the number 12 from 7 years ago. You're not who's in the green and gold. You're not looking at the number 12 that played against you in the Super Bowl. You're getting a whole nother guy wearing number 8. It's a whole different guy. This is a marquee thing. You know, if it wasn't for the fact is we know who Ron was, I think it wouldn't make a difference. But, you know, Brett Favre Jr., I've got at number 4. I've got Aaron Rodgers going to the Steelers. It's just a marquee thing at this point.
Yeah. Yep. My number 4, you know, you got to have a good edge rusher to get to those quarterbacks. I think the Bengals added one, and their defense is not too shabby. You know, so if you can add a piece to help, I think Joseph Ossai coming in. I think he's going to be a good fit there. You're number 3.
My number 3. Well, I've got him at number 5. You've got him at number 5. I've got him at number 3. Yeah, D-Hop. You got a guy who was just in the Super Bowl last year with the Kansas City Chiefs. You kind of, you know, this guy. I root for this guy. Like I said, I've seen him in the AFC South for so long that there are a few players that I root for from the AFC South to do something. Andre Johnson was one. D-Hop was another because this guy doesn't get in trouble. He does everything the right way. You know, I hope he gets a Super Bowl. And I have no problems with it being in Baltimore. If Wade go by the playoff predictions, that's you'll see where I don't agree with that myself. But I like D-Hop. I think he gets a short end of the stick everywhere he goes. But yeah, I got my number 3 is your number 5.
Nope. Yeah, him going to Baltimore is going to be huge. Well, my number 3, we're going with the Browns. We're going in that quarterback room because with all those young guys and all those journeymen, hey, why not add another journeyman, but the right one, I think. Joe Flacco is going to be, I think, a good leader there, help them come along. How much play time will he get? Who knows? I mean, like we said, preseason is going to be Sanders, I think, by default because everybody's injured right now. Right. But I think Joe Flacco long-term is going to help that quarterback room out. You're number 2.
Well, we have this thing, addition isn't always by subtraction. But addition is always by not subtracting. I think the Cincinnati Bengals made a very smart move, keeping their core wide receivers. I think they re-signed both their wide receivers, T. Higgins and my number 2. And I just remembered that T. Higgins. So actually, I could have a 2A and 2B at this point. But I've got the wide receiver room in Cincinnati. Well, I went from San Diego to Chicago to Cincinnati. But I've got the Cincinnati duo in Jamar Chase, and might as well add T. Higgins at this point.
No, you are right. Sometimes addition by subtraction ain't always the key. So keeping players is also key. My number 2, we talk about Pittsburgh. You go out and you bring in a guy from Seattle that's still young. I think DK Metcalf is going to help that, young team out there. And maybe keep the job of one head coach there. So, all right, you're number 1.
Well, my number 1 is your number 2. I instantly, when I thought of this addition the addition group, the first thing I thought of was DK Metcalf. I think this is the only guy that doesn't they drafted a quarterback, didn't they?
I think they did, yeah.
I think they drafted a quarterback. And I think this is the only guy that keeps Aaron Rodgers on the field, barring an injury, for quite some time.
Yeah, they drafted one because I remember we were talking during our NFL draft coverage that this is where Sanders could go. I mean, and I think they drafted one like 2 rounds before Sanders went to the Browns, I think.
Right.
Yeah. But that was your number 1. My number 1, you have him there. I think if we said it before, if he could keep his ego in check and just go play football, even if this is his last year, you want to go out on a high note. You put all that aside, you go play ball. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be a key factor in that. So again, that's if he could, play ball or if he's just out there for show,
Right.
So all right, so let's go to the North, the NFC side of things. I'm going with the Packers corner. With the receivers that the Lions have, the Bears have, the Vikings have. You definitely need that. I got Nate Hobbs as the corner for the Packers.
Didn't Hobbs hold on, I got a question. Did not Hobbs get hurt?
I have not heard.
I thought Nate Hobbs got hurt. I could be mistaken. I'll let you know here. But
you could be right.
No, I like that one. I saw that name too, and couldn't remember if he was hurt or not. He might not be. I know they had a wide receiver that switched over to corner.
Okay. I know they were talking about switching somebody. Yeah. I
Nate Hobbs is going under knee surgery.
Or
but for my number 5, I like Green Bay too. I think you need those field generals in the middle of the field on defense, those linebackers. I think the kid coming out of another guy who's coming from he's coming from the Giants. So I was going to say he's coming from the Eagles, but I thought he was he's with the Giants. Probably one of the few bright spots outside of Bobby Okereke in the Giants. But to bring in Isaiah Simmons from the Giants, I think you bring in probably their second best linebacker to come into a linebacker core like Green Bay. I think that makes their linebacker core even better. I think that's going to be a big step, and I think it's a big positive outside of losing the corners that they did lose in Green Bay, like Jair Alexander going to Baltimore. Like it's just but I got Isaiah Simmons at number 5.
All right, I got the Lions. I got a linebacker there too. The defense, if Hutch comes back, it's going to be a solid defense. You add a linebacker there to kind of, like you said, be your field general. Derek Barnes, I think, could be a good fit in that organization there. You're number 3.
My number 4.
Number 4. I'm sorry.
That's fine. It happens. I'm going to pick on the Vikings. I'm going to pick on the Vikings a couple times this time. I think stealing from the 49ers, who's had a top 5 defense now for the last 3 years. I think any team that can steal a highlighted defensive lineman from that team is going to be nothing but positives. It gives him a chance to shine, especially in the Vikings defense. I think Javon Hargrave, is going to be a big improvement to that defensive line. I think San Francisco's going to hurt because they lost that one.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too is, reports are that, JJ struggled a little bit with the defensive alignments, as he's lining up his center, but they're also giving our defense a lot of credit for how well. I can't think of what his name is now.
If you can hide your coverages well against any quarterback, you're going to be a top 5. You're going to be a top 5 defense throughout the season.
Yeah. So my number 3, we're going to the Bears. Yeah, you got a young quarterback, but you need a veteran. I think Case Keenum's going to fit that role really well there to help him. Yeah, I know he's a journeyman. He had one good year here in Minnesota, which I would have kept him after, but that's just me. But I think Case, knowing what the NFL is like, can help a guy like Caleb out.
You wanted to keep Kasem the year before he left. I completely understood that.
Yep, I would have kept him over. Cousins. I would have drafted Lamar Jackson. I would have brought Teddy Bridgewater back, and there's my quarterback room.
So my number 3, I think a lot of jokes were missed on draft day about this. My brother texted me enough jokes about their draft pick that it was going to be fun, but you got a guy with a last name that's apropos with the Green Bay Packers, by the name of Golden. I think this kid's going to be an absolute stud. You put him, you start pairing him with the wide receiver room they've got now, and then you decide to bring him with Jordan Love. I think this guy's got the upside of nobody's business. I've got Matthew Golden coming through via the draft.
Is that the
that's the wide receiver that wanted to come to Green Bay. He was the first round draft pick.
Okay, so he's not the one from Green Bay. Okay.
Yeah, he's not the linebacker he's not the wide receiver from that grew up in Green Bay. No, he's the one from Texas. He's the one that went to the University of Texas.
Yeah. All right, my number 2, you talked about, adding is always not, or subtract, or I forgot what you're saying.
Adding by subtraction is not always good.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I think the Vikings re-signing Harrison Smith, even if it's his last year, is going to help out that.
I will be honest. I will tell you right now. I didn't mean to cut you off, but when I heard he re-signed, I was pissed.
Yeah. No, I'm glad he re-signed. I think it's going to help that defense out in general, but it's also going to help out the young guys in that D-back room. So that was a big one. You're number 2.
This one hurts. This one hurts me because I know where he came from, and he's like the last remnants of Andrew Luck. So kind of stings a bit. To see him come out of, we had him coming from Alabama. I was so happy when we drafted him. But Minnesota, I think, is getting a 4-time Pro Bowler. I don't consider you guys consider Will. I don't know why everybody thinks Will Freeze is this great end all be all guard. He wasn't that in Indy, so I couldn't tell you. But Ryan Kelly going to Minnesota. I don't think it's an we got Cameron Bynum, and we got Daniel Jones from you guys technically in trade for Ryan Kelly and Will Freeze. I think somehow we lost. But Ryan Kelly, I think the greatest thing that could help JJ McCarthy out is having a center like Ryan Kelly. He learned a lot when he was under when Andrew Luck was in Indy. He's learned to go basically piecemeal every quarterback we've had since. I think the only reason why Anthony Richardson had any close to a really good season is because of Ryan Kelly. I think you guys got an absolute stud superstar. He's in his 10th year. He probably got him for the next 3-4 years. Ryan Kelly going to Minnesota, I think, is a huge win. Absolute huge win.
Yeah, anything to shore up, especially that center quarterback closeness, because you got to have that trust in that center's going to deliver you the ball right where you want it, in that exchange. So, my number 1, you picked on the Niners. I thought this was going to be your pick, but I think the Vikings getting a gridiron back bulldozer. They've already said that most of his carries are going to come out of the goal line, which is fine, but I think he could be useful elsewhere. Jordan Mason coming from the Niners into that backfield, I think is huge.
I love Jordan Mason. Oh my gosh, he was a fantasy football stud. I remember picking him up. And I don't know, 3 of my leagues last year, and he saved me on so many games. Truthfully, he's a goal line to goal line guy. If you're losing out on him just going from red zone to from red zone in.
Yeah, the thing is, they do have Jones.
He's got Aaron Jones, though.
But he's going to be a good backup when he gets his time. I'll call it right now. If I was a betting guy. It would not surprise me if both running backs have a 100-yard game in the same game.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be, especially with your offensive line now. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yep. All right. So let's
my
go.
Number one.
You're one.
I'm gonna make mess around. It seems like today is a day where I make Big B and mess around happy. But I've got my number one is a pass rusher from the Atlanta Falcons. I think this is going to hurt the Atlanta Falcons more than it's going to help the Chicago Bears. But I've got defensive tackle from the Atlanta Falcons, Grady Jarrett.
Yeah, especially if the Bears want to bring back that 85 defense. I mean, that like we said, their whole franchise has been built on defense. I mean, they haven't had a 4,000-yard passer yet in their existence. So
right, and they've had how many top 5 defenses compared to top 5 offenses? Exactly.
All right. So let's move on to the AFC biggest stories we're going to watch. One from each team, unless you have a couple. I just got to pick one. Your number 4 story you're going to watch.
Oh yeah, I only pick one. I only pick one. So you're good. I've got the Cleveland Browns. My fourth one is the Cleveland Browns. We all know about their infamous draft this year where they drafted Shedeur Sanders in the 4th round, and they picked up Doug Gabriel in the 1st.
No, Gabriel was
the first.
Well, yeah, but he wasn't in the 1st round though.
Yeah, he was.
Was he? Okay.
Yeah. Doug Gabriel was in the 1st round. He was late 1st round.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
And then you got Shedeur in the 4th. Can the 2025 Cleveland Brown quarterback draft play out like the 2012 Washington Redskin quarterback draft does?
Ooh.
Because you got to remember that's the RG3 Kirk Cousin year.
Yep.
And
that's a good one.
If that's the case, we're looking at a quarterback battle for the ages, because that was a quarterback battle for the ages back then.
Yep.
And you saw
the same rounds.
It's almost the same rounds, because I think Cousins went third
or 4th, yeah.
Right, and then you had and you picked RG3 with the number 2.
Yep.
So if that's the case, maybe the Cleveland Browns are looking up, but
yeah.
Who knows?
My number 4 story to watch, I'm going Pittsburgh. I'm going Aaron Rodgers effect. You know, how is he going to play? Is he going to play as he wants to go out on top? Is he going to play that he's just out there because he's getting paid to be a football player? Is he going to let his diva come by to where if they're having a bad game, he's going to pound on the sideline? So it'll be interesting to see what the Aaron effect is going to be like. Your number 3.
Well, my number 3, I like your Pittsburgh Steelers, and it kind of plays into mine. And mine is, how fast do the Pittsburgh Steelers pull the trigger and go to Mason Rudolph or Will Howard? Yep. Because think about it, under what the heck is the quarterback or the coach's name?
Tomlin.
Tomlin has never had a losing season. Yep. And do you think he's going to let Aaron Rodgers be the first one to give it to him? No, he's the guy that's willing to go to Mason Rudolph or to Will Howard to keep his above 500 record going.
My number 3, I kind of alluded to it with the Bengals. Burrow's got to stay healthy, so health is going to play a big factor with Burrow on where they go. If he's hurt for a long time, I mean, they're not making the playoffs. I mean, if he misses one or 2 games or a half, okay, yeah, there'll still be a playoff contender. But Joe Burrow's, Joey B's health is the question I'm going to be watching. You're number 2.
It's odd. It's almost like you're like that one step ahead. I've got the Cincinnati Bengals again. I've got the Cincinnati Bengals. It's saying was 2024 a fluke season? Was it? Is it? It's because we're talking about a team who's 3 years now removed from a Super Bowl. It's the consistency of the health of Joe Burrow. I think It's not. You can tell it's not T. Higgins. You can tell it's not Jamar Chase, because you saw what they did with Remington. You're looking at, so you got to start worrying, is Joe Burrow a system quarterback, because Remington was doing the exact same thing when Burrow was hurt.
Nope.
So you gotta start thinking, was 2024 a fluke, or is Joe Burrow a fluke?
Yeah, good point. My number 2 is the Ravens a whole team this year. I mean, do they got the weapons? Do they upgrade with Hopkins? Do they got the defense? I mean, their time is closing fast to get into that Super Bowl, to get that ring for Lamar and the group. I mean, even Henry. So do they got the full team this year?
Well, my number one is Baltimore Ravens. Can they get over the playoff hump? They keep getting to the same point, and they keep finding a way to lose. Last year they lost to Kansas City, and it was like, you found ways to lose against Kansas City, and it's like, good Lord. It's like, you go to the playoffs and you find ways to lose. This is the point where the mentality is, you gotta find ways to win, because losing's easy. As shocking as it is, everybody says losing's hard in the NFL. No, losing's pretty easy. I've played on football teams, and I've played in enough sports teams where I've lost. I had losing seasons. Sometimes, look at this right here, isn't because of anything. It's because losing's easy. Winning is hard. At this point, you got to start wondering if they've got
winning consistently is hard.
Right. Losing consistently is hard, but at this point, you have to think that they've got that championship mentality, because you're basically playing with. You knew this last year when you signed Derrick Henry. You're playing with Derrick Henry on borrowed time. When you signed D-Hop, because you're now playing with D-Hop on borrowed time. You're starting to do that now. You're getting to that point with Jair Alexander. You're buying him on borrowed time. You've got Lamar Jackson with Jackson's numbers, or his time is going away. You're looking at guys. This was a team that we thought could have easily been the dynasty Kansas City was, but yet they don't. It's like they don't. It seems like they don't have the Super Bowl mentality, and maybe it's the coaching staff.
Yeah, no, I got you. All right, so let's move to the North.
Who was your number one?
Oh, my number one. I'm sorry. I brought it over and over again. You had it somewhat at number 5. I like your comparison of the Washington Commanders, Redskins back in the day, drafting those 2 quarterbacks. It's the quarterback room for me. I mean, how's it going to play out? Who's going to take the reins? I mean, you think Flacco would, but he's kind of on borrowed time. I mean, I think they brought Flacco in just to be that veteran presence. So you got to rely on the younger guys. Can Sanders do it? Can Gabriel do it? I mean, one of those 2 have to take the reins and be like, you know what? This is my team. You guys are either behind me or you're not. So yeah. So all right. So let's get to the North. I'm going to start with 4. Even though I'm supposed to hate the Packers, that Lambeau mystique they had when you went there, you were hoping you wouldn't get blown out. Can the Packers return to that mystique to where they're the feared team to play at home? I think that's the key to their rebuild, is that they got to be that team that you fear when you see that Packer at Lambeau game. You got to be like, oh my God, we can't go out there and crap the bed.
Well, it was, and you brought it. I don't know how many times you brought it up last year. In the brief period you were on our shows before you went to work, about how Green Bay is not what it used to be.
Oh,
they're called the frozen tundra. At this point, they seem like they've been a frozen. They've been a thawed lawn at this point. They're not what they were. And you're right. How many back in the 90s? Everybody feared going to Green Bay because it was cold, and Green Bay needs to get to the feet. Honestly, if you need to get back to the frozen tundra field, they need to start pulling a little Philadelphia.
Nope. You're number 4.
My number 4, I got the Chicago Bears. If now that you've got this revamped O line, can Caleb Williams become the number one quarterback? To become the have the talent that he was drafted for? He was picked number 1. I get it; it's his second year, but at this point now you've got a revamped line. Anybody in the NFL would love to have a revamped line, especially the way Chicago redid it, much like Chicago and Minnesota. If you could revamp that, there's no team in the NFL that would love that would hate having the revamp like they got. I hope that Caleb pans out like he does, because you already got a tough division in the North. You're just going to make it tougher. You're absolutely going to make it one of the best competitive divisions in the league if Caleb Williams starts playing like the number 1 draft pick that he was.
Yep. I got the Bears also at number 3. I got Caleb as a center point because, with the coach coming out and saying that they're kind of trying to retool Caleb in his play, how's that going to affect year 2? Because now you're pretty much. I mean, I know it's a new coaching staff, but you're taking the number 1 pick and you're going to try to reinvent him.
I think,
how is that going to play? I mean.
I think with what I kind of understand what Ben Johnson's doing, because Ben Johnson played a lot of double tight end sets. I think that was the big thing that Cortland Loveland going to Chicago in the draft was such a big thing, because you got Komet, now you're going to have Cortland Loveland. Now what you've done for Caleb Williams is you've given him two outlets in case, so you don't have to put pressure on him to do mid-range throws, the 10 to 15 yard downfield throws. He can have his dumpers. He can have his dumpers to the tight ends, to the wide receiver, the running backs.
I think the idea.
I get it. It's just, and now you just got to hope that Caleb Williams has the mentality to do that.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, is could Caleb adjust to that?
Right.
And be a new quarterback.
And that's the thing, and that's the funny thing about the NFL. If you can't adjust, if you can't it's the whole Marine thing. If you can't overcome and adapt, you die on the field.
Yep.
And that's the thing is, how many times did Justin Fields have to overcome and adapt with new offensive coordinators every year in his first? And look at the quarterback he's become. I know he hasn't been what we've expected, but he shows the glimpse, and that's the thing. And he's overcome and he's over adapted. I think that's what's going to make him become a top 15 quarterback in this league. I think if Caleb follows the Justin Fields cookie cutter mold that Justin Fields has let out there, I think Caleb Williams could be a top 15 quarterback if he learns from what Justin has done.
Yeah, I agree. You're number 3.
My number 3, I'm going to go with a little team there in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Was letting Sam Darnold go the mistake, and is JJ McCarthy the answer? That's the big question. That's the one big question I think that is going to haunt Minnesota Viking fans until JJ McCarthy takes his first snap week 1.
Yep. Well, I think it's going to be more than that. I mean, especially that first game, I think is going to be big under the lights Monday night in Chicago. McCarthy coming off the injury. I mean, because Kurt had a bad Monday night record. Sam Darnold is not that much better, but so my number 2 is, are the Lions legit? I mean, can they repeat? Can they build that defense? I mean, they're minutes away from going to the Super Bowl, I think. I mean, so are they a legit team, or is this going to go back to the 90 Lions where you have one good year, now you go back to the dumps?
Yeah.
You're number 2.
My number 2 is the Green Bay Packers. It's to the point now. You got to, if you're Jordan Love, are you ready to go over the hump to become that elite quarterback? You're still stuck in Aaron Rodgers' shadow. You're stuck in Brett Favre's and Aaron Rodgers' shadow.
Yep.
It's so hard to go from one legend quarterback to another legend quarterback and then get dropped in right under one legend quarterback. If If you're a Green Bay Packer fan, you kind of hope that Jordan Love follows in the same footsteps that Aaron Rodgers did, to become that legend. I think Jordan Love, outside of Aaron Rodgers, doesn't have that ego. You're starting quarterback. You're the fighter. You're a fighter pilot of an offense of a team. But so far, Jordan Love has kept his ego in check. He understands what egos do in Green Bay. It gets you basically run out of town sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think Jordan Love is has the weapons. I don't know if Mecole Hardman is the whole it's the answer to replace AJ Dillon, but then again, you've got that kid they drafted last year. But does he have the opportunity to become the elite quarterback, the top 15, the top 10? I think he might be top 15 now, but is he going to be the top 10 quarterback that the Packers need to help put that mystique of the frozen tundra back in Green Bay?
Yep. Nope. You're exactly right. My number one is, of course, the Vikings. JJ's got a lot, and I'm talking about McCarthy, not Jefferson. Well, Jefferson has a lot too, but JJ's got a lot of weight on his shoulders. I mean, this is the first quarterback that's going to start, outside of Dante being, drafted here. We haven't had that guy, the franchise. I mean, you got the weapons, you got the line. Can he produce? Can he bring what he did in Michigan to here? So that'll be and hopefully O'Connell got to Harbaugh and kind of picked his ear a little bit on what McCarthy can do.
Mm-hmm.
So you're number one.
My number one is the Detroit Lions. I kind of brought it up earlier on my biggest losses. What kind of hole did losing both your coordinators make? I think that's huge. You saw what happened in Indy when we lost our two quarter. We didn't have that great to begin with, but you lose your offensive genius, your defensive genius, and they all go off. One's won a Super Bowl, one's got himself fired 3 years later. But you kind of hope it doesn't make a difference, and it's the players on the field, not the guy who's trying to motivate the players on the field.
All right. So let's get into our final segment. It is the playoffs. We went through the whole season. Coming down to the playoffs, this is our predictions. Again, this is coming from playoffpredictor.com. You can pick all your games, and it'll line up the playoffs, and you pick your winners there. So let's start with the AFC wild card round. Who is your 5 versus 4?
My 5 versus 4, I've got the Bengals versus the Chargers.
Okay. And you got winning?
I've got the Bengals.
All right. I got Kansas City versus the Colts. I got Kansas City winning that one.
Don't let the little one hear you say that crap, because I don't even have Kansas City in the playoffs.
You're 6 versus 3.
My 6 versus 3, I've got the Denver Broncos versus the Houston Texans.
Winning?
I've got the Texans winning.
All right. I got 6 versus 3. I got the Dolphins versus the Ravens. I have the Ravens winning. You're 7 versus 2.
My 7 versus 2. I got the battle of former Baltimore and current Baltimore. I've got the Colts versus the Ravens. I've got the Ravens winning.
Okay. All right. I got the Bengals versus the Bills. I got the Bills taking that one there. So let's go to the NFC wildcard side. My number 5 versus 4. I got the Lions versus the Falcons. I got the Lions winning.
I've got, and for my 5 versus 4, I've got the Packers versus the Buccaneers, and I've got the Packers winning.
Okay. I got 6 versus 3. I got the Eagles versus the 49ers. I got the Eagles in that upset.
I've got, in the same week, I've got the Vikings versus the 49ers, and I've got the 49ers winning.
Okay.
There, see, now I don't, now there's going to be hate.
I got in the 7 versus 2. I got the Packers versus Dallas. I got Dallas taking that one.
Oh, see, you're just killing entire families now. In the 7-2, I've got the Rams versus the Eagles, and I've got the Eagles moving on.
All right. Divisional round. Who is your first matchup there?
My what would this be? 2 versus 5? I don't remember. 2
Something
versus
like
4.
that, yeah, that doesn't matter.
I've got the Texans versus the Ravens, and I've got the Ravens winning.
All right. I got the Ravens versus the Bills. I got the Bills winning as my number 2 seed.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So my next round, which is funny because when you realize who is my AFC Championship game, it's even more hilarious. I've got in the next round, I've got the Bengals versus the Bills, and I've got the Bills winning.
All right, I got KC facing the number 1 seed, the Denver Broncos. I got the Denver Broncos winning.
Oh, at least you don't have KC moving on. That's good.
All right, the AFC side or NFC side, I got the Lions going to Dallas. I got the Lions with the upset.
I've got in that round, I've got the Eagles versus the 49ers, and I've got the Eagles beating the Niners in an upset.
All right, I got the Eagles as the number 6 seed going to Minnesota, the number 1 seed. I have Minnesota winning that.
That's all right. I'm cutting the rest of my family off here in the next one. And the next round, that in that seed, I've got the Packers versus the Lions, and I've got the Lions beating the Packers.
Ooh. All right, your AFC Championship game.
My AFC Championship game you had in the divisional round. I've got the Ravens versus the Bills, and I've got the Bills winning, going to the Super Bowl.
All right, my divisional game, I got the number 2 Bills versus number 1 Broncos. I had the Bills taking it.
I kind of know where you're heading with this.
My AFC side, I got the number 5 Lions versus number 1 Vikings.
Go ahead, say it.
I got the Vikings number 1. I got the Vikings going.
I'm like, go ahead, say it, because I know where it's going. I've got in the NFC Championship game, I've got the Eagles versus the Lions, and I've got the Lions going.
Yeah, and honestly, if it came down to the Lions Vikings, I mean, yes, I want the Vikings to win, but if the Lions made it, I wouldn't
I'm not
shed a tear. But the way it played out, hopefully, I finally get my 0-4 versus 0-4 because every year I root for that. Someday I'll put money on it. Hopefully, it does happen. Hopefully it happens, but that's our prediction. That's the 25.
What's your predictions? You didn't even do the Super Bowl.
Okay, yeah, Super Bowl. That's right. You're a Super Bowl winner.
Here we are. We got the cliffhanger for the next week.
You're Super Bowl.
We know who you've got. We're just going.
Yeah, I gotta go with them. I gotta go with the Vikings. Honestly, I think it would be a good Super Bowl. The way these teams lay out on paper, I think it would be one heck of a Super Bowl. I would not be upset either way if the Bills beat the Vikings. But yeah, I got the Vikings over the Bills.
That's right. You said you talk about how you make so many people unhappy in your family. Da 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 da. I've got the Bills versus the Lions, and what do? I cut the last person off in the family. I've got the Bills beating the Lions in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Even the Bills Lions. I mean, that would be a good one too. I mean, So. But with that being said, that's our 2025 season in a wrap.
I'm allowed to officially make the. I'm officially allowed to make the prize.
All right.
Because we were waiting for one person to be told in my family, and they were told the most hilarious thing is they were told on the Wednesday we were going to have a show, and I look, I can. No, we got a show next week. I was told on July 16th, which is hilarious, which is the day before my birthday.
I was going to say day before my birthday. Yep.
Yep. And it's hilarious because, I got a message from my daughter on July 16th, and which is hilarious because July 27 years ago on my birthday, which is July 17th, her mother told me that she was pregnant. My first reaction is I blacked out, passed out, hit the floor. My dad threw me in bed. Hung up the phone. So July 16th, 2025, my daughter gets a hold of me and told me that I am going to be a grandfather.
Well, congratulations on that. I know it's probably going to be hard for you being miles and miles away, different continents, but I know you'll make the best of it. So, how is, as a matter of fact, how is your mom liking the news?
I think she's happy. I think it's funny. It's hilarious because my sister gave my mom her first grandchild,
Mm-hmm.
and her first grandchild, and then I was blessed enough to give her only granddaughter, her first and only granddaughter. So she's only got one granddaughter. And for the longest time, I didn't think I was going to have grandkids, and I never really thought of it. So it was kind of a shock to me. I guess it was kind of a shock to my mom. She's happy. She seems over the moon with it. I was in absolute shock, just about as much as my mom was. I think the rest of us were kind of in shock when we all heard. But yeah, that's and the funny thing is she's due, which is hilarious. She's due around the time that Kaylee was born. So nice. So it's possibly a February 1st to February 7th birth. So it's kind of going to be
both weird. Mom and daughter can be born on the same day.
Yeah, well, the thing is, that's already happened to my family because my brother and my mom were both born on May 12th.
Nice. So, well, congratulations to you. Congratulations to your daughter. But that being said, outside that, Tim, final thoughts at all?
Excited for preseason football. You know, we just had the Hall of Fame game with the Chargers and the Lions last week. We start ramping it up this week. We've got, I can't remember who we got.
I think Seattle tomorrow, tomorrow. I think Seattle's playing.
I'm so terrible that I can't remember who we've got. Who do you guys got? Gives me a chance to look it up.
Is it the Patriots this week? I think we have.
You guys got the Texans.
Oh,
we got Baltimore.
Okay. Yeah, so it is football season ramping up. I don't know what else to say. I can't wait. Morning tailgate. I think we nailed down the date. Our time frame, I guess, will be Saturday night. So it'll still be morning tailgate. We're just going to put
it's going to be morning for one person.
Yeah, morning for you. Yeah.
So, because usually it's the opposite, because usually it's morning for you guys and evening for me. Now it's going to be the opposite way around.
Yeah, so we're going to do a morning tailgate, most likely on Saturday. So we'll be able to recap the games, and as long as the schedule's not too messed up like the first week, we'll be able to give our predictions.
And ladies and gentlemen, we get unlike most other days, we'll get Brandon for the whole entire show.
Yep, I'll be there. I will be there, resuming my hosting duties and bringing back the infamous Big B Baller, which never panned out so well. So, with that being said, we'll see y'all next week on C2C Rankem. Have a good one.